What is up, guys? Murderman4 here, and it's Christmas, which of course means a brand new episode of Doctor Who. Unusually, the festive special isn't written by the current showrunner, as prior showrunner Stephen Moffat instead takes up the mantle. An admittedly welcome change if you've seen my review of the last season's finale. So, with 8 Christmas specials already under his belt, what more does Moffat have to offer? Well, the central concept of the Time Hotel, using unbooked rooms throughout history rather than building any of their own, paired with the concept of spending your Christmas holidays anytime, any place, is fantastic. It's a wonderfully fun idea, perfectly suited to Christmas Day, and it's refreshing that the Time Hotel themselves aren't actually the villains of the piece, as is so often the case when other people obtain time travel in the show. The story is also populated with some really likable characters, from the simple but good-hearted Trev, to the Silurian manager, to the Doctor's newfound friend Anita. Ironically, however, the one character that doesn't really shine is the episode's co-star, Joy, as played by Nicola Coughlan. It's a fine performance, but despite being the episode's emotional core, I feel like we hardly get to know her, and she feels more like a minor supporting character than a co-lead. Not least when the episode takes a massive detour midway through, putting Joy's storyline on pause, and you really don't miss her. Now, this is an interesting aspect of this story that I have very mixed feelings about. In order to save Joy's life, the Doctor's future self takes Joy with him back to the Time Hotel, leaving his past self stranded in 2024, with the Doctor needing to wait until the next Christmas before he can get back. And so we spend this year with the Doctor staying in Joy's hotel room and forming a deep friendship with the hotel manager Anita. It's a fun montage and there's some good character work here, but I do have a couple of issues with it. Firstly, it really has nothing to do with the rest of the episode. Chop out these 10 minutes and there's no difference to how the rest of the episode plays out. This is the kind of scenario where I feel like it really has to be all or nothing. Make the episode about the Doctor's year with Anita, or skip over it. As it is, it feels like the episode grinds to a halt for us to watch a different episode, which yes, is good in its own right, but in my opinion it negatively impacts the experience of the whole. Additionally, the Doctor living a normal day-to-day life is something that has merit, but at this point it's well-trod ground. You've got to do something fresh with it, and I'm not convinced this does. Even though I enjoy this episode more, I feel like, say, the Doctor sticking around with the Pawns for a year in The Power of Three is a much more effective take on this concept. Additionally, the Doctor goes on to act as though this kind of experience is new to him. But at this point, we've seen him stay in one place a good number of times. Most notably, his very last incarnation. Yet he's acting like he's never settled down before. Same with the whole, the Doctor needs a human companion and can't travel on his own. It's a sentiment I agree with, for the TV show at least, but it's also an approach the new series has done to death by this point. The Doctor knows this. We know this. It's a point worth making, but let the audience come to that conclusion naturally, rather than explicitly spelling it out. Especially in cases like this, where the Doctor isn't deliberately traveling alone. There's no indication that he's avoiding friends like he was in Planet of the Dead or The Snowman, so it just feels out of place. Finally, and I understand the real-world reasons for this, but within the story, everything feels like it's setting up Anita to be the new companion. The amount of time we spend with her, heck, the amount of time the Doctor spent with her is probably more than some of his own companions. The explicit pointing out of the Doctor needing to find a friend. So it just feels so bizarre that the Doctor, presumably, just goes back to the TARDIS to travel on his own, rather than to visit Anita, a person whom he clearly bonded deeply with, and offer her a chance to take part in the adventures he's told her about. It's just bizarre, and the two aspects seem tonally at odds with each other. So, that's the thing. Good subplot, but it really doesn't fit here. Let's talk about Villengard and the Starseed. It's fun to see Villengard pop back up again, and I like the ominous idea of a briefcase passed from person to person, as it climbs its way up the ranks for the device to get to where it needs to go. I do think this aspect was a little undercooked, and I'm not really sure how Joy was able to get the star far enough away from Earth to avoid killing everyone, but it's just one of those episodes where you kind of just go along with it, and I don't think it's too big of a deal. I did really like the scene where the Doctor was trying to make Joy mad to release her from the case's influence, although worst, loneliest, saddest hotel room in the world? Is it just me, or does this match none of those things? And having been unable to say goodbye to her mum in person when she passed, and becoming the Starseed, they could be reunited again, is a sweet sentiment, even if it was a tad cheesy for my liking. Speaking of sweet, I loved that little Ruby cameo. A nice, unexpected surprise that put a smile on my face. And of course, the final revelation that the starseed becomes the Star of Bethlehem is an idea that could have been controversial. And indeed, having heard rumors of the possibility, I was nervous, but I thought it was very tastefully handled. A fittingly joyful note to end the episode on. So, I think it's safe to say that Joy to the World was a bit of a mixed bag for me. I think maybe I focused more on the negatives in this review, but that's more because I felt I had to explain them more. On the whole, I still liked more than I didn't. Ultimately, I think this was a perfectly entertaining episode that I can happily revisit, even if it's a tad messy or lacking in substance. I'm going to go for a score of 7 out of 10. Unfortunately, that doesn't get it very far in my festive special ranking, coming in 14th place out of 18. But hey, I liked it more than last year's. And that's that. We've got the next season coming up, hopefully within the next few months, and we'll see where the show goes from there. But what did you think of Joy to the World? Please let me know in the comments below. And with that, Murgaman 4 over and out, and I'll see you guys later.